From the heart of the Space City to the heart of Gen Z, welcome to Next Gen Conversation. Not Dad's Talk Radio. Ethan talks to you about the issues and events that matter to our generation. This is the Next Gen Report with Ethan Buchanan.
Hey everybody, how are we? Welcome to the Next Gen Report. It is once again a pleasure to be with you. I want to encourage you, check out the Wednesday show. It airs on our Houston flagship station, AM 950 KPRC, from 2 to 3 p.m. on Wednesday afternoons right now. That's right now. That could change. That might get bumped off. That might get moved. I'm just there to fill time right now. But right now it is there. You can check it out. And of course, it's on the podcast. It's on my X page. It's on YouTube. Everywhere where you can get the Next Gen Report and my content, it's there. So check it out. It's good stuff. Obviously, we have 1 hour here every weekend, and so there's stuff we don't get to. There's stuff we can't get to. Things I want to talk about but just don't have time for. That's where we do a lot of that. And then, of course, it's nice to get kind of a midweek update of what's going on in the world. So, hey, check me out there. The best way to find all of that is @_Ethan Buchanan, Buchanan on X. I want to real quick give another shout out to our sponsor, Deus Volt lapel pins. I love these guys. They're always coming out with new designs. This White Boy Summer one is brand new, I believe. It already sold out. It sold out in hours. It's insane how quickly these things sell out. So you really want to hit this notify me button. That'll send you a text message or email, whichever you prefer, when a pin that you want is back in stock. So go right now, shop around on DeusVoltLapelPins.com. Pick out a few that you like, get on the notify me list so that when these pins become available, you can swoop in real quick and order them. They're $6, maybe $6.50 a piece, depending on if it's a fancier one with a more intricate design that's harder to make. Not expensive pins, but they're very high quality. Get on the notify me list. You can use promo code NEXTPIN2026 to get a 10% discount and support a great Christian Texas-based business that makes a fantastic product. Again, I wear mine every single day. Now, we have got a lot to talk to this week. Obviously, so much has gone on, but I want to kind of ease into it first. It occurred to me recently that I don't talk to Gen Z about Gen Z stuff half as much as I should, just because I get so caught up in all of the other kind of national politics going on. So Gen Z specific stuff is easy to kind of fall by the wayside, and I apologize for that. But I want to do a little bit more of that today. And if you're an older person listening to me, this might not apply to you, but I think it's good for you to listen anyway, because, hey, we are the future of your country. We are the generations that you have brought forth, and everything you've built is coming into our hands now. So maybe this will give you hope, and maybe this will make you just want to go lock yourself in the retirement home and never come back out. Whichever it is, I think it's still important. So first things first, I want to admonish Gen Z. And as a general rule, I usually like my generation quite a bit. I think Gen Z has done a lot of things right, and I'll give Gen Z some pats on the back coming up. But first, we need to admonish Gen Z. Gen Z folks, if you're listening to me right now, the bar could not possibly be lower for you. And I'm not even slightly kidding. The bar is so low. Shout out to the millennials for that one. They set the bar so low. It is almost impossible for us to not do well and achieve well. But listen, when we do the bare minimum, let's not get this main character syndrome thing going and act like we just achieved the greatest thing in all of humanity. All right? The bar is low. It's low for a reason. We need to understand that as we move into the world. I'll give you an example of this. This lady posted this video on TikTok, I believe, and the caption says it all: agoraphobic employment arc, ? I have no idea what the hell that is, but I'm pretty sure she just made it up. And I'm going to Google it right now so we can see in real time. A complex anxiety disorder characterized by intense fear and avoidance of places or situations that might cause panic. That's made up. You made that up. An intense fear of places that might cause panic, helplessness, embarrassment, or often leading to being housebound. So this is literally, you just are useless and want an excuse that sounds official. Literally any place could cause fear, panic, or whatever. But here's the video. She goes and she does this big hero arc, pat on the back video of like, I applied for a job. Literally the bare minimum. Not even I got a job. Look at me. I finally achieved something. No, I just applied. Take a listen to this.
I am 24 years old. I am 24 years old, and I just made myself a bank account. I've never done that on my own before, and now I'm finishing my resume, again, by myself, and I'm going to apply to a job that I'm not asking permission to apply to. I just want to apply to it. And even if I don't get it, I've never done this on my own before. And I'm not saying like I'm alone. I just mean like I'm 24. I've never.
Holy theater kid, dude. Oh my God. There's a lot to unpack in this video. Obviously, what in the name of God is going on with just, you know? And listen, I'm no Los Angeles 10. I understand that, but good grief. Just for the love of God, grow your hair out like a normal person. I have a hard time believing your head is shaved for a medical reason. And if it is, fair enough. But I don't believe that. And second of all, when I say fellow Gen Z, the bar is so low. It is so low. She's got all this hopeful music going on like, oh, look, I can't believe it. I'm 24 years old. I finally applied for a bank account on myself and applied for a job. I'm so proud of me. Look at what I've done. I've overcome. Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't want to say I'm an overachiever, but if this is the bar, I might be the Messiah. I mean, really, what are we doing? She's 24 years old and in tears because she applied for a bank account. I set up my own credit card at 18. I've had a bank account on my own since I was 14. This isn't rocket surgery, people. Good grief. All right, we got a lot more to talk about here. Gen Z, we got some things to work out. We'll be right back in just a minute with more of the Next Gen Report. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in. This is the Next Gen Report. If you're listening, wherever you're listening, Dallas, San Antonio, or the greatest city in the greatest state, in the greatest country, in the history of the world, Houston, Texas. Listen, Gen Z folks, we got a lot to talk about, but before we dig into that, I want to say, if you just heard that audio, if you're listening live right now, we are recording this in video. That video I just played, you can watch it on X. It'll be up tomorrow morning. When I tell you that you need to see this woman that just went on a big tangent about, oh, I'm so proud of me because I did the bare minimum financially speaking. Listen, it's something to behold. All right. So if you're curious as to what I was talking about, whatever you're picturing in your mind's eye, whatever came to you in a vision as you were listening to me talk about this lady and listening to that video, it's exactly what you think it is. All right. You're correct. If she had hair, it would be blue. All right. So go check it out at _Ethan Buchanan, Buchanan on X. And you can actually watch that video. We'll have the whole video here tomorrow morning. So you'll be able to see all of the visual elements, read along with me as we dig into some articles and whatnot. I think that's my favorite way to consume content because I'm a visual person, but you might be different. Anyway, it's whatever floats your goat. You don't have to if you don't want to, but it's available. It's out there. All right, listen, Gen Z, we're talking about the bare minimum here, how low the bar is. And last segment, we're kind of digging into this lady for, I think, being silly. I don't believe in agoraphobia, all right? I'm sure I'm going to have somebody with a PhD or some woke someone or other say, oh, no, this is real. You have to take this seriously. No, get over yourself. You're afraid of possibly getting embarrassed. This is the real world. You know what? There is no excuse. There is no either. Grow up, all right? Good God. And second of all, Gen Z folks, we got to start getting more financially literate. If you're 24 years old and you're just now opening a bank account, what are you doing? What are you doing? Now, I'm sure she's an odd one out here, but be that as it may, guys, be financially literate. It's not that hard. I know finances look complicated. They're not as complicated as they look. You have a credit score. It's not rocket surgery. Figure out what it is. If you want to use a credit card, just pay it off every month. Be responsible with it. Don't spend money you don't have. It's not that hard to be financially literate. Take the time. I like Caleb Hammer. That's one of my favorite guys right now. He makes this obnoxiously easy. He'll explain it to you like you're 6 years old. All right? Go watch some Caleb Hammer videos and figure out not to spend money you don't have. Be financially literate. All right? Now, that is kind of my admonishment of my generation. And again, I do like my generation. I think broadly, my generation is probably the best generation since the greatest generation that fought in World War II. I do mean that. Baby boomers, I love you guys. Gen X, y'all are great. Y'all let some things slide. I'm going to be honest. Y'all let some things slide. A lot of the problems that we have right now in this country came about in the 60s, 70s, 80s. That was on y'all's watch. Listen, I'm not trying to point fingers, but that was on y'all's watch. So we got to work on that. We're going to work on it. We're handling it. Don't worry. Enjoy your retirement. We'll figure it out. Now, one thing that I really love about my generation is religion is popular again. Now, there's some risk with this, obviously. Whenever something is popular, it will immediately be taken and abused. We have seen a lot of that. We have seen a lot of people kind of becoming faith influencers on X or TikTok or whatever the platform is because it's popular and you'll get clicks. Now, I will say, I think, and this is just my opinion, the fact that that's something that's popular and gets clicks, even if the faith influencers are kind of abusing it, I think that is a good sign. The fact that it's worth someone's time to kind of wear faith as a skin suit is a good sign. Now, that also means we have to be very aware of people who are wearing faith as a skin suit. All right? And it's very common in right-wing circles. We keep seeing this time and time again. There'll be this, trad Catholic, someone or other, and then you start figuring out who these people are, and they're scandal-ridden, and they've got all these different problems, and it turns out they're actually just completely lying, and they're saying, oh, look, I'm a trad Catholic, hardcore, right-wing, whatever, because that's popular and get clicks. So, be on the lookout for that, but I do think that is a positive sign. It's a negative, but it's a positive sign. So let's dig into this. This is an article from Newsweek. Gen Z men's view of religion takes a dramatic turn. After decades of steady religious decline in the U.S., young men appear to buck the trend. New polling from Gallup shows a sharp rise in religiosity among men ages 18 to 29, marking one of the most striking shifts in American religious attitudes in years. For the first time since Gallup began tracking the data more than 2 decades ago, men are now more likely than young women to say religion plays an important role in their lives. Now, what I really want to point out to you here is how sharply this has jumped. According to Gallup's latest social series data, 42% of men ages 18 to 29 now say religion is very important in their lives. That represents a 14-point increase from just 2 years earlier when 28% of men said the same. That is a fantastic, sharp jump, all right? Now, there is the parable of the seeds that we need to keep in mind. So, if you're new in the faith, keep at it, all right? Get dedicated to this, all right? And if you've been a person of faith for some time and you're starting to notice more and more Gen Z saying, hey, I think there's a God-shaped hole in my heart and a God-shaped hole in our society. What can we do about it? Folks who have been in the faith for a long time, those people want your help. All right? They do. I've met them. I know these people. I know people that are just starting to say, man, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I know we're missing something. Grab those people by the hand and help them learn, all right? A lot of these people are flocking towards Catholicism because that's what's real popular right now. And listen, I honestly think, and I'm a Protestant, I think there's a whole host of issues in the Catholic Church. But if you're someone who just now is saying, I didn't grow up going to church, I've never been a person of faith, but everybody online is going to Mass, so I guess I'll go to Mass and just see what that's about. Go to Mass. Do it. Go to Mass. I'm not Catholic. I think the Catholic Church is wrong on so many things. But if it's between that and just atheism, go to Mass. I think the traditions and the kind of rigid structure of the Catholic Church is very good for people who are just getting into faith for the first time. They're a little bit more legalistic than I would like, but some people need that. All right? So go to Mass, by all means, and then start learning and studying your Bible. You may find that there's some serious issues in the Catholic faith, and then I welcome you to become a Baptist, a 1689 confessional Baptist like I am. But I do think this is a positive trend. We are going to see more and more, and I think we're already starting to see it, that so many of the issues in our society have come from the fact that we have slowly pushed faith out of the public square. All right? Now, there is a balance to be struck here, but I think as a general rule, we need more faith in the public square. And by faith, I mean specifically Christian faith, not whateverism. All right? That's not helpful to anybody. That you might as well be atheist. But I think what we'll see as young men become more and more religious, and Lord willing, in the creek don't rise, more politically active as well, you will start to see a societal shift back to conservatism. So, even if you're not religious, but you're politically conservative, you should be encouraging this. And then you should also maybe crack on a Bible, go to church. We'd love to have you. But I think this is a positive sign. Obviously, there's concerns here. We'll dig into this in just a second. The Pope is kind of making me iffy on all this, but stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about this some more. Alrighty, welcome back once again at _Ethan Buchanan, BUCHANAN on X. Again, there's a lot of visual elements in this show. I'm reading articles, I'm showing you tweets, I'm playing videos. It's great that you're listening on the radio. I love that. Also, if you want to see the visual elements that you're listening to right now, go follow me on X. I'll post the whole video. You can watch the entire show again on X tomorrow at _Ethan Buchanan, BUCHANAN. Now, we're talking about Gen Z kind of coming more to faith as a general rule. And just from what I've seen, this isn't backed by statistics or anything. This is purely anecdotal. I have seen more people jump into Catholicism. And again, as a general rule, I think if your options are atheism or Catholicism, Catholicism is obviously better. All right. Now, I'll give the Catholic Church credit for this. They're definitely more front-facing. Their outreach is very good. They've managed to bring in a whole lot of folks from Gen Z. It's popular online to be Catholic or not Catholic, Orthodox. I think part of that is a lot of folks my age, and I've fallen victim to this a little bit as well. We're searching for something old, all right? We want tradition. We want that kind of ancient property that the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church have, that Protestantism just doesn't necessarily have in the same way. And I think there's a very real aspect to that. If that's your chief priority in searching for faith, you've done something wrong. But again, like I've said 1,000 times, and I will continue to say, I do think there are, for some people, that is the best path. I do. Now, you need to deeply research the Catholic Church and what they teach and how that aligns with Scripture. There may be things within the Catholic Church that are not correct, and I believe that's true. That being said, I know a bunch of Catholics, and all of them are very true followers of Christ, good Christian people. I consider these people brothers in Christ. They've given me their explanations for why they believe and how they interpret things that I think are false, and that's fair enough. But all of those people affirm that the triune God is Lord of heaven and earth, and that's all that I really need. That the rest is between you and your conscience. Now, there is a lot of concern, especially as Gen Z folks start to get a little bit more political, which has been happening quite a bit. And thankfully, Gen Z seems to be leaning towards the right. Again, this is anecdotal. This is just from what I've seen. But it looks like Gen Z is leaning to the right. Now, one thing that I need to warn everyone, including Gen Z folks that are starting to dabble in faith, starting to dabble in Catholicism, starting to dabble in right-wing politics, the Pope of the Catholic Church, the current sitting Pope, Pope Leo, is an idiot, all right? And if you're Catholic and I've just offended you and hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. I'm a Protestant. This man means nothing to me. He's a fool. He is. And if you're a Catholic, you need to look into the scriptures and then look at this guy's Twitter feed, because what he's saying has no basis in scripture at all. And I'll give you an example of this. This is from Pope Leo XIV, his official Twitter page. Let us reject the logic of violence and war and embrace peace founded on love and justice, an unarmed peace, not based on fear, threats, or weapons. Oh my God, dude, lock in. What world do you think we're living in? Honestly, what world do you think we're living in? Because in a perfect world, obviously, I would love for weapons to be completely unnecessary and we can all beat our swords into plows and call it a day. That would be fantastic. I love that. And here's the good news. We will, in the future, live in a world where that is the reality. There will be no weapons and no need of them. However, we don't live in that world. And we won't live in that world until Christ returns. And Pope Leo should know that. From the very beginning of humanity, there have been a need for weapons. There has been a need to be able to defend yourself against an armed assailant. And if you don't believe me, I'll point you back to human number 3 and 4. Get it mixed up. Yeah, Adam, Eve, then, 2 and 4. 3 and 4, God. Human number 3 and 4. The first two sons of Adam and Eve, one of them murdered the other. Again, we're 4 people into human history, and we already have a murder. This will continue. You need to be able to defend yourself. There will not be, until the return of Christ, a world where weapons are not necessary. This idea that we can just have unarmed peace and we'll all just get along, it's not real. It's not. Now, it's a utopian vision. It's something for us to look forward to. But unless you happen to live through the return of Christ, you will not live through that reality in this world. You just won't. There will forever be a need for you to be armed and dangerous. Now, Lord willing and the creek don't rise, you will never have a need to use a weapon. You will never have a need to go to war. But there will be wars, and you may very well need to fight one. You may very well be assaulted and need to defend yourself. You are called by Christ himself to be armed. Luke 22:36, he asks his disciples, are you armed? If you're not, sell your cloak and buy a sword. Jesus himself says it is better to have a weapon than a cloak or a jacket in modern context. If Jesus were here today, the line would be sell your coat and buy a gun. Because this is the real world. People will attack you. People may attack you and try to kill you just for practicing and professing your faith. You should be able to defend yourself. Pope Leo should be saying, let us strive for peace and be prepared to fight for peace if necessary. You are either armed and peaceful or unarmed and defenseless. All right? That is the harsh reality. And this is not some new, crazy, right-wing Republican philosophy. This has been common knowledge for forever. You need to be armed even if you do not wish to be. Miyamoto Musashi. He is a Japanese artist from the 16th and 17th centuries. Late 16th, early 17th century is when he lived. So this is not a particularly right-wing idea. It's also not particularly modern. But here's what he had to say. And I found this quote on Goodreads. It is better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. I like that quote from him because it's obviously true. You can be as peaceful as you want. But if you do not have the capacity for violence and the understanding of when it is called for, you're not peaceful. You're helpless. And those are different. What Pope Leo appears to be calling for here is helplessness. He does not understand, or at least from this tweet, he appears to not understand that we live in the real world, a sinful and fallen world. And sometimes that means we have to go to just wars. And there are just wars. Even God himself has called upon his followers to go to war directly. I'll point you to the Old Testament where this happened frequently, multiple times. God told the nation of Israel, the Hebrew people, go to war, wipe these people out because they're pagans. Now, is that the call that we're receiving today as modern Christians from God? Probably not, maybe not necessarily, depending on the context. But this idea that Pope Leo seems to have, that there is never a need to go to war, does not line up with history or even traditional Catholic faith. J.D. Vance did a good job of pointing this out. Listen to what he had to say about this.
Number one, when the Pope says that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword, there is more than a 1,000-year tradition of just war theory, okay? Now, we can, of course, have disagreements about whether this or that conflict is just, but I think that it's important, in the same way that it's important for the Vice President of the United States to be careful when I talk about matters of public policy, I think it's very, very important for the Pope to be careful when he talks about matters of theology. And I think that one of these issues here is that there has been, again, hey, random dude screaming, I told you I'd respond to your point. I just want to respond to this question first. But I think one of the issues here is that if you're going to opine on matters of theology, you've got to be careful. You've got to make sure it's anchored in the truth. And that's one of the things that I try to do. And it's certainly something I would expect from the clergy, whether they're Catholic or Protestant. Now,
great clip from JD. And he's exactly right. Now, again, from the traditional Christian sense, obviously, yeah, we should push for peace whenever possible. We should hope for and work for a world where our weapons are never necessary. Sorry, I just set off everything at once. However, that is not the world we live in. It is not the world we will ever live in, all right? And obviously, J.D. Vance is exactly right. This was a stupid thing for the Pope to say, and he should not have said it. All right, we got a lot more to talk about. We'll be right back. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, let's close out with some politics. We haven't talked a whole lot about what's going on politically, just because I thought this stuff was a little bit more interesting and, frankly, more important. Now, with Hormuz and everything going on there, that really does seem to be changing on a minute-to-minute basis, but I feel confident. Maybe this is just me being a plan truster, whatever you want to call it. I feel pretty good. All right. what we saw over the weekend, really on Friday more than the weekend itself, I think is a very good sign. Now, it's changing minute to minute. 1 second, everything's off. The next, everything's on. It really doesn't seem to follow any particular legitimate pattern, but I feel pretty good about it. I think before too long, we'll have this completely sorted out. I really think the Iranian regime is coming to the end. You can disagree with me on that. That's fine. So far, I see everything that we've gotten done so far as an absolute win. All right, we'll see what happens. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is something that I think will have a major effect on the midterms, actually. Now, how much have you heard over the last several weeks and months that, Trump's coalition is already dead? The kind of conglomerate of right-wing folks to more moderate Democrats that came together on a number of different issues to elect President Trump has already splintered. Maybe it's because of the Epstein files or the war in Iran or whatever. This has been the prevailing narrative on X for quite a while. I think that it is not true, and here's why. Check this out. This happened Saturday morning, early Saturday morning. Trump signs order to speed review of psychedelics, including the controversial drug ibogaine. Now, here's a picture of Trump signing the executive order, and who do you notice there in the middle? Right behind President Trump, it's Joe Rogan. Now, Joe Rogan is not a conservative by any means. He's not a right-winger. I think he sees himself as a moderate. I kind of view him as being to the left. Now, I like the guy. I think he's a funny comedian. I enjoy his podcast. I tune in every now and again when he's got a guest that I like on. So, I like Joe Rogan. I don't agree with him politically on most things, I think is fair to say. But I think he's a cool guy. And I think the fact that he's right there behind President Trump says something. Now, if you recall, one of the biggest turning points of the 2024 election was really the day before the election when Joe Rogan said, hey, I tried to have Kamala Harris on a bunch and she wouldn't talk to me, but I had President Trump on and he did talk to me and I felt like he was honest with me, and so I'm endorsing him. That was a big moment, even though it came very, very late in the game. And of course, Rogan is friendly with a lot of folks in Trump's administration, namely RF Kennedy Jr. Rogan makes no bones about that. He's very openly close friends with RFK Jr. And other folks. He likes Tulsi Gabbard quite a bit as well. Now, recently it's been said that, Joe Rogan has left the kind of Trump circle. He's no longer friends with Trump because of deportations, la-di-da-di-da. He's spoken out on some political things that he doesn't like that Trump is doing. I don't think that means Joe Rogan hates President Trump, and I don't think President Trump hates Joe Rogan because of that. And I think this is an example. So let's dig into this article, actually. So here's what actually went on. President Donald Trump on Saturday directed his administration to speed up reviews of certain psychedelic drugs, including ibogaine, which recently has been embraced by combat veterans and conservative lawmakers despite having serious safety risks. Now, that's CNBC saying it has serious safety risks. I'm not necessarily saying it has serious safety risks. I don't know. But CNBC says it has serious safety risk. Ibogaine is banned under the federal government's most restrictive category for illegal high-risk drugs, but the administration is taking steps to ease access to psychedelics that Trump said were already designated as potential breakthroughs by federal regulators. Today's order will ensure that people suffering from debilitating symptoms might finally have a chance to reclaim their lives and lead a happier life. Trump said he signed the executive order on the drugs. Trump said as he signed the executive order on the drugs, the Republican president said his directive will help dramatically accelerate access to research and treatments on psychedelic drugs. If these turn out to be as good as people are saying, it's going to have a tremendous impact. Now, a lot of people, Joe Rogan is kind of leading the charge on this. Sean Ryan has spoken about this on his show a number of times as well. Say that this is a great treatment for addiction. This is a great treatment for PTSD. If you've got something wrong with your brain, taking doses of ibogaine could fix it. Now, I don't know if that's true because, again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a researcher, I haven't looked into this, but I do know that there are a number of, if nothing else, anecdotal examples. And I think there's enough anecdotal examples to say, hey, we should look into this. And this is something that Joe Rogan has spoken out about quite a bit. And so he was in the Oval Office signing this, and here's what he had to say about this. And he gave President Trump a lot of pats on the back for this. Take a listen to what Joe Rogan had to say about the drug Ibogaine.
I want to tell everybody how this happened. I sent President Trump some information. We have a gigantic opiate problem in this country, obviously. In 2024, more than 80,000 people died of overdoses. It's a horrible number. And there's more than 5 million people that are addicted to opiates right now in this country. With one dose of Ibogaine, more than 80% of people are free of that addiction. With 2 doses, it's more than 90%. I sent him that information. The text message came back, sounds great. Do you want FDA approval? Let's do it. It was literally that quick. These drugs are illegal not because they're harmful. They're illegal because of the 1970 Controlled Substances Act that was passed by the Richard Nixon administration. They did it to target the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement. It's not because these drugs harm people. And for 56 years, we've lived under those terrible conditions. We're free of that now. We're free of that now. Thanks to all these people that we see next to me, and thanks to President Trump.
Now, I don't know how true everything Joe Rogan just said is, but something I want to point out to you is how all of this played out. I'm inclined to believe Joe Rogan's story that that's how it happened. Knowing what I know about Joe Rogan and about President Trump, I believe that. I know Joe is the type of guy, just from having listened to a decent amount of his podcast, that will just text people he knows if he sees something that's interesting, that he thinks is important. He's made no bones about doing that in the past with other people. And of course, he's very close with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's very close with Tulsi Gabbard. He's had Trump on his show. I have no doubt that he saw this and thought, we can do something about this. Let me text the president. And that's what he did. I believe that wholly. And what's really interesting is Trump's response. Now, he could have just said, I'm going to ignore you because you've been talking bad about me on your show. And Rogan has spoken out and said, I don't like that the president is doing this. I think this is wrong, la-di-da-di-da. Now, the left would have you believe that the type of person President Trump is he'll see that and like, I've written you off. You're a traitor now. Trump does do that to people, but you really have to kind of earn it. All right. And I don't think Joe Rogan has earned it from the president, and I don't think the president has given it to him. What we've seen here is something that I think we've seen consistently from the president, which is he likes to work with people on doing things that work. All right? Whether or not you agree with him on everything. If you agree with him on certain things and they can work with him on those certain things, President Trump is more than happy to have you in his camp on that issue. I think that's a good thing. I think that's the kind of thing we should look for more in our politicians. Now, President Trump is not the type of guy to make concessions where they shouldn't be. But on issues where, Joe Rogan, even though he doesn't like what I'm doing on immigration, thinks we can help veterans who are suffering from PTSD and other addictions, yeah, let's work with Joe Rogan on that. I think that's good. And I think that's a clear sign that President Trump's coalition is not dead and is poised to head into the midterm strong. Thank you very much for listening to the Next Gen Report. We'll be back on Wednesday.